Stop the cap.
The statement about black women's disloyalty to black men or the black race has nothing to do with how black women voted politically. We all know that black women are going to vote Democrat. Majority of black women are not married, and they're not fighting for reparations as much as they're fighting for welfare and other types of subsidies from the government, which white supremacists like to run and try to act like those two things are one and the same. Black people should be fighting for what is owed, not for what black women want in terms of what they think is going to give them autonomy and female empowerment. The argument about black women's disloyalty revolves around every time things don't go black women's way, they throw black men underneath the bus. Black men didn't say anything about how black women were going to vote. The same conversation was being had to black men about who, black people need to think about who they're voting for and what we're voting for and how we should be voting for tangibles, right? That's what that conversation was about. Most brothers knew that black women were going to vote democratically. Most black men are going to vote democratically. We have the same barbershop talk, same arguments with black men, and some black men, they're just not going to vote, for Donald Trump or the right because of the number of racist and white supremacists that are over there, some of the disparaging things or inflammatory things that Donald Trump has already said. And other behind the scenes agendas like people being fearful of Project 2025, police immunity, tough on crime policies, those sorts of things. There's black men that are not going to vote Republican simply because of that. And then you have black women that are going to vote because again, stupidly, this whole election was made about women's rights and women's abortion, even though the economy is all messed up, right, with inflation. And then women are going to vote for this whole far left, multicultural rainbow. There's no such thing as genders, feminism, and anything that they believe is going to somehow empower them away from the patriarchy that 5 minutes later they'll lament and say, well, the only reason I'm over here and the only reason I'm choosing or voting this way is because there's no patriarchy or because black men aren't doing the right thing. Again, like I said, these women want black male responsibility. They do not want black male leadership. Do not be fooled for one moment. Like I said with the two videos that I posted on my community tab, the first one being, the black mother chastising, the young black man. And then the second video being, how Ice Cube was treated when he went up there with Claudia Jordan on Queens. And, with no disrespect. He went and he did the work. He spoke with the intellectuals. He came up with the contract for Black America. And the way that Vivica A. Fox in particular and Claudia Jordan responded to him, Lisa Ray didn't say much because, Ice Cube put Lisa Ray on. So she's not going to say anything. And she bit her tongue. She's like, no, this man's kicked off my career. I'm not going to sit up in here and give him lip or attitude or whatever. But Claudia Jordan and Vivica A. Fox, that's typical black female behavior. That's what we deal with. And Ice Cube is up there, he's a multimillionaire. He could change a whole bunch of lives, right? But he still got all this sort of just nasty attitude, right? And then, going to the video of the boy in the car, that's what we're talking about. Many of us deal with that. We deal with that from our own mothers. Like, how dare we, look for an alternative to the Democrat Party, being men, recognizing when we're being duped or suckered, and the women, they take it personal, like it's somehow an affront to the black woman's being or the black woman's essence, and then all of a sudden we got to be called all type of names we all type of coons and we all type of, Uncle Toms and all, we're all type of, we hate black women and we hate your mother and all this nonsense. All this nonsense, all the name calling, all the shaming that went simply because, what was it? The 21% of black men who did vote went in the other direction. And then again, another untold percentage. People are saying it's somewhere around 30%. I think it's more. It's going to have to be more than that. Well, actually, nah, because those that sat on the couch plus the 21% that voted for Trump. So that's like 50% right there. If it is 30% that were registered Democrat voters and just, sat on the couch. Since black people, we can assume that since black people usually vote about 90% Democrat for both male and female. So if 30% sat home and then 20% of those that voted for Donald Trump, yeah, Democrats can't win off of that. You know what I mean? They need at least like 60%, of each gender in order to win, and that includes, the people who otherwise, stayed home in order to win, because we're only 14% of the population, right? And this is where the nastiness comes in from black women, because, you hear all this stuff. Oh, well, the majority of black men voted. So why do you got a problem with the 21% that didn't? Why you got attitude with the 21% that did? Because it matters. That's why. Because they can't win if everybody's not on board. It's one of those type of situations because we are a minority in this country. That's why it matters. That's why Donald Trump getting, 21% is important. And I think that, him getting 20%, that was like no different than what it was in 2016. Okay. That's no different. But the difference is a lot of people, especially in swing states, they stayed the hell home. But all that throwing underneath the bus, because what it really demonstrates is it really demonstrates how much lack of respect that black women have for black men. And what black men are sick and tired of is when black men push back. And when black men got something to say, the way that black women go into the denial mode and act like, the clapback is it's just out of the void. It's just out of the void. No, it's a matter of how nasty you all get when things simply just don't go your way. You know what I'm saying? There were no black men calling black women out of their names, wishing death upon black women because black women didn't vote for Donald Trump. You know what I mean? Black men, at best, they say, y'all on the plantation. And that went for both black men and black women, about them being on the plantation. And I'm saying it was either or. People weren't saying go out there and vote for Donald Trump. Tariq Nasheed was not saying go out there and vote for Donald Trump. Professor Black Truth was not out there saying go out there and vote for Donald Trump. You know what I'm saying? A Black Authority was not saying go out there and vote for Donald Trump. What they were saying is, the Democrat Party is supposed to be our party, myself included, right? And black people have been loyal to the Democratic Party, and we have received nothing while they play in our faces and got shit for everybody else, got tangibles for everybody else. And the strategy was to let the Democrat Party crash and burn with the loudest message that we could give them. Okay. And now, like I said, you see, they're out there ducking and dodging. They're trying to downplay the significance of black people, enough black people either sitting home or voting for Donald Trump. And they're going to run with black women, black women are, they're black women are saving democracy. And black women, they're loyal. Black women are suckers. Black women are suckers. Y'all seen as suckers. You know what I'm saying? Nobody voted as high for the Democrats as black women. And you got to ask the question why. Y'all want to say that the Democrats was giving you, X, Y, and Z. Okay, what has the Democrats given black women that has improved black women's, situation? You know what I mean? Or is it mostly symbolism? Personally, I think it's mostly symbolism. I'm not saying black women haven't gotten anything. I don't think that they're out there, voting for absolutely nothing at all. But I think most of it is symbolism, and nobody, like, they say that they support black women and they're the backbone of the Democratic Party and blah 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 blah. They say that, but then after the election day, like, I don't even think black women go back and do homework and do their due diligence and sit there and see whether any of these tangible things have gone to black women. The at best, the closest thing I saw was like Chase. What was it? Chase Bank or whatever bank, Morgan Stanley. They were doing something economically in terms for black women businesses, and it's what's so crazy is, like, you had white some white supremacist. They're voting against that, or excuse me, not voting against it. They're suing against that, right? Because they're saying it's discriminatory, all this other bullshit. I don't even know what happened with that. But I'm saying it's quite funny when the idea is we're going to give business loans or whatever exemptions, whatever they're going to give black women in terms of establishing businesses. And black women have the worst business record out of all groups, literally out of all groups. Everybody runs around, oh, black women, they got businesses all over the place. No, they don't. They're the number one group registering. I shouldn't say number one. They're disproportionately registering businesses as sole proprietorships, but they have no employees and they make less than $24,000 a year. If you were to just compare white women's businesses to black women's businesses are making no money. And I'm saying if you were to compare black men's businesses to white men's businesses, black men's businesses are making no money. But the vast majority of the businesses that do make money in the black community are black male owned and operated. Black women can't touch black men when it comes to the business acumen of black men. But again, since we have so many black women that are out here that live in complete delulu, they believe all this damn feminist rhetoric, and the Democrat Party, the DNC, is able to come into the black community and drive a wedge and basically play favorites, play teacher's pet with the black community or black women in particular, and further drive the wedge. And you can't get black women to wake up out of their coma. Go watch that link of Ice Cube sitting up there talking with Claudia Jordan, and when they got to the part of what's in it for black women? The way that they blacked out on Ice Cube, that shit was crazy. He was like, look, you could write it in. I don't know what y'all want particularly. I assume that black people encompasses both black men and black women. Nah, that wasn't good enough. Not good enough. You know what I'm saying? Black women are the ones with the problem. They don't want to hear that. They're gonna do all type of mental gymnastics and whatnot. They're the ones with the damn problem. Okay, they're the ones that they're better than their men, and then at the same time they want their men to want them and lust them and desire them, and then they try to make the argument that the reason why black women broke away is because black men didn't validate black women in all aspects of life and their beauty and this, that, and the third. Again, black women engaged in feminism, in the black community, not only in the middle of the civil rights movement, but at the peak of black male voluntary participation. Black men in 1965, as I posted on the community tab, were working, at above 80%. Now, granted, some of those jobs were shitty, but today, right? Black men are, what is it? The work participation rate is I think it's 64%. See, it's somewhere between 61 and 64%, which is low. Okay. And then back then, the marriage rate was 61. No, I'm sorry. It was 64% for work participation rate. It's 61% for black people who were married, in 1965. Today, it's 30%. That's our marriage rate. It's 30%. So let me get this right. 80% of black men were working, and 61% of black men and black men and women were married. And that's when y'all decide we must have feminism. We must join the white women in feminism. That's why you all get called, disloyal. Again, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Some things need to be reformed. You know what I mean? Like, particular things. I hear women always throw up women couldn't open, a bank account, like, and there's like other specifics to that. There was something else specific to that, but I forget exactly what it was because I looked it up. I was like, what is going on with this? And it's like, there's like some half truths in there. You know what I mean? It's just like white women with suffragists and talking about, white women were pissed that black men got the right to vote before white women did. And like I said, when you look at the dynamics of voting, what sense does it make if your husband is the breadwinner and he's the earner and he's providing for you and the family and his economic interest, take care of the whole family? What is the point of giving women the vote if all women are going to do is vote against the interest of their husband based off of something like abortion that has nothing to do with his ability to be able to provide for the family? Maybe he's voting Republican because the Republicans have an economic plan, and that's going to further increase his income so that he can provide for you and the kids. But instead, you going to go to the poll because you want to vote on some bullshit like fucking abortion. You know what I mean? The way that black women are crashing out online is insane. Like acting like, black women, they're the only ones that care about the black community and black children and all that. First off, how the fuck do you care about children if you're talking about aborting children? What is pro-black about abortion? I hear crickets. What is pro-black about abortion? What is pro-black about you fighting for the right to be able to abort black children? What is pro-black about that? And y'all are on the internet crashing out. You got feminists that don't even like men, and you got LGBTQ women that don't even like men. We got women out here talking about the black men, were in the civil rights movement just so that they could go off and they could get with white women, right? Like that's their argument. I'm like, and then I had to go up and I had to pull up the list. I had to pull up the list of here's all the black women who were in lesbian relationships that were a part of the civil rights movement. This is just to name a few. Audre Lorde, Alice Walker, and we know about her. She's going to write a book about the evil black man, Danny Glover, Mr. in The Color Purple, right? You're black, you're ugly, you're poor, goddamn, right? And she was married to a Jewish man, got divorced from the Jewish man, had a biracial daughter that her biracial daughter has written articles about how terrible of a mother her mother was and abandonment issues and whatnot, while her mother would just get on a plane and go to Europe and shit and go hang out in Europe, while she was in boarding school, so then after that, she went and engaged in lesbian relationships. But yet she gonna write a book, The Color Purple, about a mean old black man. Then you got Barbara Smith, right? Barbara Smith, she's part of the black LGBTQ within the feminist and racial justice work. So she was on some lesbian shit. You got Pat Parker, lesbian shit. You got June Jordan, another a poet, an analyst, an educator, right? She was on some lesbian shit. And then you got Angela Davis, which, I didn't know. I think this is about she's been a strong advocate for LGBTQ. I don't think she was technically speaking in lesbian relationships, but she was a strong advocate for it. She probably shouldn't be on the list. Maya Angelou, married to a white man. Alice Walker, again, all married to a Jewish man. Alberta Hunter, blues singer, married to a white man. Angela Davis had relationships. What does it say? Angela Davis has been open about her past relationships, including ones that cross racial lines. Doesn't get specific, but she's been over the fence. Okay. Nikki Giovanni, over the fence. Kathleen Cleaver, also over the fence. And what's so crazy is Kathleen Cleaver was married to Eldridge Cleaver, who wrote Cold on Ice. This is the one where he talked about, I'm not free until I can have a white woman on my arm and have the white man not say anything about it. Kind of like those 2A people that walk into Starbucks with an AR-15 strapped to their back. It's like, why are you doing that? Because it's my right to do it. And I'm not free until I can walk around with an AR-15 on my back and have nobody say anything. These are the people that walk around with the cameras. You know what I mean? Am I being detained, officer? Am I being detained? Oh, have I broken the law? Okay, then. Well, I guess I'm free to go. Terry v. Ohio, officer. Those people. And basically, Eldridge Cleaver was trying to do the same thing with white people. Am I being detained? Am I being detained? Loving v. Virginia, which, again, is another funny situation because Loving v. Virginia happened because of what? A black woman was with a white man. Then you got Eartha Kitt. Somebody brought up Eartha Kitt. I had to add her to the list because I was like, yup, she was swirling it up, has a biracial daughter, right? And then you have Josephine Baker, another fence jumper. But see, you won't hear sisters bring these women up. Lena Horne, another fence jumper, right? Leslie Uggams, I think that's how you say her name, another fence jumper. You know what I'm saying? So the Black Civil Rights Movement, the Black Empowerment Movement has had, I don't know if I should say just as many, but quite a number of prominent Black women who were very much engaged in the Civil Rights Movement, who were either LGBTQ or over the fence. But yet these Black women that want to talk about black men and with the black men, that they just wanted to move the Civil Rights Movement forward so that they can have greater access to white women. Again, more intellectual laziness. From these Black women online running and flapping their gums. I mean, again, internet right in front of you. All you can do is take time and Google this shit. Use AI, ask ChatGPT. You know what I mean? Whatever you're going to use, Anthropic. You know what I mean? Cloud 3, right? Whatever you're going to use, you can go online, use it, get the information before you decide to come online. And what's so crazy is these are one of the people that I warned about that shit. I warned about, just being emotional and just, I must rush to make content as opposed to sitting there and thinking about it before you put something out. But this is what we talk about when we talk about, the disloyalty that goes on. Everything is black. It's literally the black man blaming industrial complex. That's what it is. The blame a nigga industrial complex. That's what we have going on. Where every fucking thing. What do you think? We came online for just no reason? Everything is a black man. Shahrazad Ali said this back in 1990 that everything is the black man's fault when she dropped her book, or was it 1991? I forget. The early 90s. She dropped her book. And everything was a black man's fault. I mean, everything. And the thing is like I said, these women don't want to admit that they're doing what they want to do. It's not a matter of to sit there and believe this is what you have to believe. This is the whole problem with black women and this whole damsels in distress dynamic, because they try to act like, well, the only reason we're making these piss poor decisions is because black men failed and black men didn't set something up or do this or do that. Right. Which on the flip side of that, then you would have to assume that black women have no desire or ambition or drive to do anything greater than what the men are doing. You know what I mean? So no woman wants to be president. No woman wants to be CEO. No one, in other words, I mean, just imagine that shit. Like, the bitch is like fucking trying to get to the North Pole or climb Mount Everest. And then, a reporter gets up in her microphone after she climbed Mount Everest and then says, ma'am, why did you climb Mount Everest? I had to climb Mount Everest because I had to, because these niggas ain't shit. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, in the International Space Station, ma'am, why did you become an astronaut? I had to become an astronaut because these niggas ain't shit. Like, black woman wins NASCAR. Why did you win NASCAR? I had to become a NASCAR driver because these niggas ain't shit. I mean, everything they do is because niggas ain't shit and because niggas didn't do something. It don't make no damn sense. It don't make no damn. See, this is the problem. This is the problem with what goes on with sisters, because they want to flip flop between being damsels in distress and then being a boss bae and having boss bae energy. And when they fail at being a boss bae, when they fail at being engaging in all the freedoms that come with of being a feminist and their independence and autonomy, when something breaks or falls apart over there and they fail, then they immediately retreat back to the couch. They immediately retreat back to the kitchen, throw that apron on, and then say, I didn't really want to be in corporate America. I was only in corporate America because black men out here are just so dusty. So I figured I had to go out there and get it on my own. You know what I'm saying? See, the thing is because the economy is shit and they're suffering too. Now, I mean, we've never heard so many women talk about how they want to go back and be stay-at-home moms and kick their feet up and I could cook a mean casserole. Oh, we hear all about the mean casseroles now because the economy's all fucked up. When the economy was good, can't no nigga stop me. I'm unstoppable, bitch. I'm leaving niggas in the dust. Ain't no nigga on my level, nooker. Right? That was them. But now that the economy, now they're getting hit with ghost jobs and they're getting lowballed and the rent is $2,000 and all that shit. Now all of a sudden, if these black men were real patriarchs, we would have got with the program. Even though y'all ran with feminism in 1965 when marriage rates were at 61% and freaking black male voluntary work participation was at above 80%. I think it was 85%. That's where it was. So, and we already know all those brothers did not have, wonderful and fantastic jobs, right? That was a progress, coming out of the civil rights movement. But if I want to go into a neighborhood, if I want to hop in a time capsule and I want to see, it just depends on where you were in the country. If you were in Detroit in 1965, you were making good money. Again, Captain Solo is older than me, but he can tell me about, what things look like when it came to men who were working for the UAW, men who had unionized jobs. You know what I mean? These guys were making damn good money that they could support themselves on, back in the late 60s, all through the 70s. And then the recession really started to hit in the 1980s. And when a lot of women are talking about, this culture that exists, didn't exist prior to the 1970s. It only existed once you had deindustrialization and those type of jobs that many black men were disproportionately working because it was more manufacturing based and it wasn't so much service industry. And now what do you see now? The service industry jobs are failing because you have this oversaturation of degrees in the market. Now they're going back to, even though you went to school for, however much money that you took out, they're saying the average, what's averagely owed. They always say $30,000. And I'm like, I don't know where y'all get $30,000 when the average tuition at a 4-year university is about $20,000. The average tuition is about $20,000. So I don't know where they're getting this $30,000 number from. Most of these people are going to graduate from a 4-year institution around close to or above $100,000. You know what I'm saying? If you spend 4 years at a university, food, room and board, books, all that shit, gas, everything, it's $100,000. Easy. You see? And now the market's oversaturated. And so now they're like, oh, well, it's not about that. It's about vocational school now. Now you got to be a plumber and you got to be a mechanic or you got to, get in the trades. That's where the real money is. We don't care about that piece of paper. That's what's going on now. So the shit just keeps fluctuating and moving around. It's fucked up. That's not the fault of black women, but it's fucked up. But black women, in these conversations are some of the most intellectually dishonest, group of women that we could possibly deal with, because every avenue, every angle is to absolve themselves of any amount of guilt, absolve themselves of anything that black women engaged in and participated in or ran with or stupid fanciful ideas, ideas of grandeur of where they thought they were going to be and what they were going to do. you know what I mean, and just, pissing away their blessings because, they thought that, well, why, hey, chick, here's the train. Well, I'm waiting for the next train. You know what I mean? Just keep waiting on the next train, until, what ends up happening, they hit the wall and then they're scrambling because their biological clock is ticking. And then at that point, it's every other nigga's fault, right? Completely ignoring the fact that, again, while black women are talking about, I'm waiting for a six-figure man. I'm waiting for a guy that had it, X, Y, and Z. But yet the 61% of them are mothers and their baby daddies are none of that. So young childless men got to sit around and we got to hear about all these high credentials that these women want while having somebody else's kid. Oh, why are black women single? Why are black women single? Well, part of the reason why black women are single is because they already had a kid. They already got somebody else's kid, and childless men are not looking for women with kids. But see, that never seems to come into the conversation. It didn't come into the conversation when Oprah was up there talking about the numbers aren't available. The numbers aren't available. Or Martha Stewart was up there talking about there's only 3 black men for every 100 black women. I mean, she literally went through that whole ABC special. She disqualified freaking 97% of black men, only left us with 3. And then all of 100% of the black women were eligible bachelorettes. None of them were fat. None of them had anybody else's kids. None of them had bad attitudes, matriarchal, stinky breath, corn feet. I don't know. None of them had any issues that disqualified them. You had a damn woman up there talking about, I'm a payroll specialist, sitting up there with the lawyer. I'm a payroll specialist. You know what I mean? Acting like, she deserved the most highfalutin qualified man in the universe. This is delusion. This is delusion here. You see? So while black women sit around and they talk about, the only reason we're on this shit is because, the numbers aren't available and all this other shit. Again, you look at who their baby daddies are. That what they're demanding doesn't align with who they had a kid by. And for some reason, you can't call that out. You can't say nothing about that. You know what I mean? They make these demands, these I don't want to call them white patriarchal demands, but they're like, yeah, you need to be like a white man on Wall Street making, $500,000 a year. I'm like, your baby daddy ain't doing that. And they don't get how crazy it sounds after they have a kid. And the only reason I'm even addressing this is because 61% of black women are mothers. That is the majority of black women. And then when you contrast it against the fact that the majority of black men, 54%, don't have any kids, that's why, all this gender warring shit is going on. Because the overwhelming majority of women in the black community are mothers, and the overwhelming majority of black men in the black community are fathers. That's the difference. And so as a result, that's why you're always going to hear black men bitching about baby moms, and it doesn't hit us or resonate with us when y'all talking about when you all think that the appropriate rebuttal is to say, well, what about all these niggas out here with kids? That doesn't hit us like that, because we're like, chick, I ain't got no kids. That's on y'all. And then when you really see the number, it's like, wait a minute. So some of y'all are sharing dudes. Some of y'all went out here and you got with a dude that already had a kid by somebody else, and you went and you got with that dude, but you ain't over here in my face. Like, bitch, get the fuck out of my face. Get out of my face. And that's where we are. But nah, black men and black women are not culturally aligned. I said this when I came online. I said this to Cap Solo years ago. I said, we have 2 different cultures. We have 2 different cultures. The girls are being taught, be strong and independent. You don't need no man, yada, yada, yada. The boys are being taught to be responsible. And that's if they don't fall and slip into the streets. Because, having a bunch of women, which are disproportionately raising the boys with no male guidance because they went off and had a baby by Dusty, trying to sell a boy responsibility in a vacuum, chances are he's either going to throw out that responsibility, or he's going to end up being in the streets, or the other alternative, he's just goody two shoes that, he's responsible and he does the right thing and he loves him some white Jesus and goes to church and everything. But y'all don't want him. Y'all don't want him because he doesn't excite y'all, because he doesn't have the edge, and the swagnificence of the dude in the streets. So y'all just continue to go out here and have babies by dudes in the streets. Like, that is who you want. It's not about, oh, they're the only ones available. That's what's available. Yeah, that's true. That is what's available, because y'all keep getting with these men and procreating and getting with these men. Nobody can stop you from doing that, because y'all won't stop. That is the one space that you all control, and there's nothing that men can do about that. And then you got the reality of all these women that have feminist mindset, that when you come across a man that has it together, you fuck it up because you don't like the idea that he's outshining you and all that freaking Keke Palmer type bullshit. Where Steve Harvey literally was like, yo, I got some dudes for you. I'm going to hook you up. You don't need to be out here. You young, you beautiful. You know what I'm saying? I got the hookup. I'm Steve Harvey, right? And what does she do? No. I'd rather go out here and get me a light-skinned trainer. That's what I would rather do, right? Or Nicki Minaj. No, I'd rather go out here and get me, a guy that's been charged with sexual assault. That's what I want to do, right? Right? You know what I mean? Or all these women out here like Sierra, you know what I mean? And then y'all think that the Sierra's prayer, I'm going to go and have Future, baby, and then I'm going to turn around, and then I'm going to get with a guy like Russell. Got Russell out here looking like a sucker. Now all the women want to praise, oh, Russell, he's just the great, he's just fantastic. We need more men like Russell. I'm sure you do, with 61% of black women being mothers. And the vast majority of them not being in a relationship. I'm sure you do need to look for men like Russell after the fact, completely ignoring, what his dreams and aspirations were. Even Russell's own mother felt some type of way about him getting with, a woman with kids. Go read about it. I'm not making it up. She felt some type of way about it. But y'all, a lot of y'all can't be helped. It is what it is. You got fucking matriarchy. You got freaking women that love the street culture. They love the streets. They love hood niggas. They have babies by hood niggas, and, these women that want their autonomy, they want to do their own thing. And like I'm saying, you want to do your own thing, that's fine. But own that. Own that. You go out here, you want to do your own thing. I am not trying to twist your arm and make you try to be a part of the patriarchy. You want to do your own thing, do your own thing. But when you're out there on the highway going 105 and you crash out, don't you dare come back over here talking about the only reason I was doing 105 miles an hour on the highway with the top down is because some nigga somewhere, didn't build me a space. For you to what? If you want to go 100 miles an hour. You know what I'm saying? Like those are two different, these women really want you to believe that they crashed out at 105 miles an hour, and that if a black man built them a kitchen somewhere with a refrigerator full of food, that they would much rather be over there, breastfeeding and cooking omelets in the morning, as opposed to doing 105 miles an hour on the highway. Those two things don't even belong in the same room. You know what I'm saying? They don't even belong in the same room. I could see if you were like, oh my God, I'm sitting home by myself watching Love and Basketball. You know what I'm saying? And I wish I had a man, and I'd be in the, married and in a kitchen cooking up some food in a heartbeat. Those two things, I'm like, okay, I can see what you're talking about. But when you're like, I fell, 200 feet and broke my leg as I was climbing K2. You know what I mean? I'm like, and that's the only reason I was climbing K2 is because y'all niggas ain't. My battery died. But y'all get the point. I don't think I have to go on and on and on with further examples. You know what I mean? You're doing shit like you're traveling the world. You know, that's something that you want to do. You're not doing that because, black men failed to build Wakanda. Like, stop it. You know? So I don't think I need to make any more analogies about that. These black women need to own, like, let me just say this before I close off on this video. Like, these women don't even understand how they undermine the type of arguments that feminists make in the first place, right? Because the feminist concept is that women are equal to men, right? And that women had desires and ambitions beyond just being a man's helpmate, right? That's the argument that the feminists make, right? That they had desires beyond just being a mom and breastfeeding and chasing a 2-year-old around and playing with alphabet blocks. And I get it. I totally get it. Right? But to sit there and then reduce everything down to the only reason I'm doing this is because black men failed to build us a patriarchy or whatever, essentially says that women's baseline is to just be pregnant and barefoot, and that women have no other ambition to do anything else. And my question is, at that point, well, what is it? I mean, which one is it? We could say, okay, some women are like that, other women are not like, okay, well, why did you let the women that are like that take over the entire conversation if now what you're going to say is the majority of us want to be stay-at-home wives? I don't even buy that. I don't even hear the stay-at-home wife trope, coming from black women, even if I could wave the magic wand and make it 100% possible for every black woman. I don't even hear that type of rhetoric coming out. I think that a lot of you all have inferiority complexes about being a black woman. You have inferiority complexes about your beauty. I'm not going to say that some of it doesn't have to do with black men not countering, the white beauty standard and aesthetic and all that stuff. Right? But I think that many of you all try to compensate in other areas. Okay. Got messages. I think many of you are trying to compensate with other areas with things like career and all this, extra ambition and shit like that. I do think that some of it comes from that. When women just keep going and keep going because maybe they don't have the looks, or maybe they're too damn big, or whatever the hell it is. And instead of doing the things, especially for the ones that are big, because you can lose weight. A woman that's hit is just hit, but at least, you could lose weight. But instead of doing that, you go and try to find, value, validation and purpose, in other areas. And one thing I can't get around when it comes to patriarchy, what the fucked up part about patriarchy that I can't get around is patriarchy essentially requires a woman to sit around and wait for a man to choose her. That I can't get around. And so what do you do with the women that aren't chosen? Right? Should they just not exist? No, they should be able to go and, live their life out and whatever, if they just, they just don't got it like that. They're not able to sway men, with their beauty like that. So I'm never going to sit up here and say that women should just be, just out here destitute and making no money if she's not beautiful enough, to men. But to sit there and act like, okay, we're going to flip the entire thing, for this one woman who this is her situation, when the other women out here, they are able to attract a man and woo a man and all this other stuff. So because the one woman isn't getting things her way, that all the other 90% of women should not engage in, the millennia-year-old gender dynamic between men and women and the social contract that the rest of the 90% of men and women have had between each other, since the goddamn Stone Ages. Because a handful of women, can't get that. The 39% of black women. And that's the crazy part. Like 61% of black women are laying up with somebody. Now, I understand that complicates marriage and everything. Well, maybe a dude was just hitting it and, maybe she just wanted a baby. Who knows what the dynamics are? You know what I mean? But but black women have the highest fertility rate out of all races of women. You know, the Hispanic women is actually not that high. You know, when you start factoring in the number of children they have, because they have less children than black women, and they start having children later than black women, only slightly later, but later overall. The having kids underneath the age of 20 for the black community, that's really the problem. It's two things: under the age of 20 and in poverty. Those two situations, that is what black people need to tackle. After that, you know, I don't want to say it's smooth sailing, but after that, you got a way better shot if you can get past, 20 years old. And the average age for black women having kids is 22. And I think 22 is young to have kids. I think people should be having kids. 24 to me is like, but I'll go 24, 25. Somewhere in that window, which again is predicated on, freaking what the economic markets look like. Because when men aren't making money, men withdraw, which is why you see a higher percentage of men that are not fathers. Yes, there's undesirable men in that 54%, but there's also undesirable women in that 39%. But men are way more inclined, because men are the ones with the responsibility to financially take care of a family. They have that burden. They are a beast of burden. They are way more inclined to recognize, I don't have enough money for a family. I'm not having a family until I have enough money. Point blank, period. Like that documentary of the two families, the white family and the black family, that they followed for like 30 years, and the black family's son who grew up watching his parents struggle. When you watch that documentary, that motherfucker just flat out says, "Nah, I ain't having kids until I have my shit together." And he's like, "I don't even know when that's gonna be, but I ain't having kids. Fuck that. Fuck that." Because he sees how goddamn hard it is. See, women on the other hand, my biological clock, it's the time. It's just time. That's what y'all do. And y'all will, it's just time with anybody. Like y'all, freaking Democrats vote blue no matter who. Y'all be like, it's just time. Have a baby no matter who. That's what y'all do. And a lot of y'all would be embarrassed if we brought any of these men into the courtroom, even to criticize them about what the fuck they were doing and getting chick pregnant. And then we got to worry about the ones that are dragging men to court, and then you get the paternity test and find out that he's not the father. And then you do paternity test number 2. Miss Jackson, do you possibly know who the father could be? I have an idea. Then bring him into court. He's also not the father. Like, the fuck? You see? And y'all be, and the shit that y'all talk, the shit that woman talked. I ain't been with nobody else. Even her own daughter had to check her. Even her own daughter was like, "Mom, you had to, the DNA doesn't lie." DNA, let me tell you something about DNA. DNA is the golden standard. It is the golden standard in medicine. Like DNA evidence is the golden standard. I cannot emphasize that enough. And she was still up there. Well, I just don't know. I ain't been with nobody else. I ain't been with nobody. Just wild. And you really got to think about that. What that means when it comes to listening to black women. When you have a woman trying to refute the gold standard that is DNA. That's what we're dealing with, gentlemen. Anyway, that's my video. SWP out. Don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe.